Hello and welcome to this edition of the Potomac Local News Podcast. I'm your host, founder and publisher of PotomacLocalNews.com, Uriah Kiser. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. Today we're talking with Sam McKelvey of the Fredericksburg Area Museum about the preparations and planning for not only the U.S. 250th anniversary coming up in 2026, but the city of Fredericksburg's 300th anniversary and what that means for us in this area. But before we get into that, we want to let you know that we love this community. We love bringing you the news every single day, and we do that the best via our email newsletter, which you can get for free by going to PotomacLocalNews.com and clicking on email newsletter. We pack that thing full every day of headlines from Fredericksburg, Woodbridge, and Manassas to let you know what's going on in the communities in which you live in the place that we call home. And if you get that free email newsletter and you like what you see and you say, wow, I'd really like more of this. I really would like to support this type of honest local journalism in our area. We certainly invite you to become a paying member for our site. We have plans where you can read news from just your neighborhood in Fredericksburg, Stafford, Fredericksburg area, or in the Prince William County, Manassas area, or you can get it all. It's up to you, but we try to make bringing you the news easy and make it easy for you to support us, because it does take a lot of effort to bring you all the local news headlines that we do every day, but we love doing it, and we can only do it because of your support. So thank you very much. And with all that business out of the way, Sam McKelvey now joins us from the Fredericksburg Area Museum. Sam,
thank you for having me, Uriah. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. And so I saw this back in December. You guys were talking to the city council about the preparations for this big event in 2026, the United States turning 250 years old. And the city, there's going to have a anniversary coinciding with that. So kind of walk us through. That seems like a lot on your plate, a lot of attention that I think people are looking at you and the museum. So talk to me about that, and then we'll get into the museum and what is that all about?
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity. I've been here only about a year, and we'll talk about me in the museum in a little bit here, but it's an honor to be in this location, the city of Fredericksburg, as one of the more historic, older cities, and obviously very important here to our country, the birth of our country, with so many revolutionary heroes and forefathers that have been stationed here in Fredericksburg, and obviously the history of the people that are right here. And so it's an important time. We're coming up here on the 250th anniversary of the country, and also the 300th anniversary of Fredericksburg, which is 2 years later in 2028. So trying to coincide them together. And I think we're kind of looking at ways to kind of step into them, right? We're going kind of from that 2026 into the 2028. And it's all kind of this explosion of interest that we hope to kind of get people interested in local history and things that affect them every single day. But it's a lot of planning right now. And I think we're making a good start of it. And it's a lot of community work and a lot of partnerships. And that's what we're doing.
So in terms of the celebration, what can people expect? I mean, is this going to be a ticker tape parade? Will this be seminars and events? Maybe some stuff maybe we've seen similar to the Great Live series at Mary Washington University. Talk to me about some of the things that you would like to see happen as part of this celebration.
Yeah, I think we want to see as many different voices in this as possible. And I think that's important to talk about because, it hasn't always been that way. I think you look back at the 200th anniversary of our country in 1976, you didn't have all voices really talking about what it was to be an American and what kind of the past looked like and what the future that we hope to be able to celebrate. And so in this instance, we want as many different organizations at the table as possible to interest their communities and their people and their voices to be able to create programming and interesting stories throughout our community. So it's a lot of different, we have a full steering committee with several different museums and organizations that are part of that. So it's not just the museum, but it's a lot of the different historic sites around from the community that are coming together for that. And beyond the steering committee, we have a broader group that's putting in, that's meeting quarterly to talk about programming and what they're going to do and how we're going to do it and how to come together. And so that's all sorts of different community groups, down from heritage societies, different museums, historic sites, boys and girls clubs, YMCAs, libraries, you name it, are part of that conversation. So it's not just the historic sites. So what that will look like is a lot of programming that will be kind of a site-specific place or community group place that will create to kind of around central themes that we've created. So there'll be a lot of different programming, all centralized around our 250th website, which is at fxbg250.com. And you can go check that out and be able to see the different programs that will be going on in the future. But then we also are kind of coalescing around certain signature events. So we're looking at around 4th of July events, and we're also looking at larger community events that we look forward to announcing a little bit later this year.
And will most of this action take place in 2026, or will this be over a 2-3 year period between with the US 250 and the city's 300th?
Yeah, so this will be going beyond 2026. I think there's obviously the celebration or commemoration, I should really say, of the signing of the Declaration of Independence will be here in a couple of years or next year. But really, the commemoration goes all the way through the revolution, right? There's events and there's conversations that will be had about what this country looked like 250 years ago, but also looks like now. That won't end in 2026. So this will, for Fredericksburg, that will go into 26, into 27. And then in 2028, we'll be moving to more city-specific 300th anniversary commemoration. So the 250th is kind of a lead-in to that greater conversation about who we are as a people and how we began. So that's what it's going to look like.
And what's so interesting about Fredericksburg is that, unlike Manassas, which is very touched by the Civil War, Fredericksburg was touched by both the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, and so it has a much deeper story to tell when it comes to that formation of the country and the fight to keep the country together.
Yeah, I mean, we're right here on the fall line of the Rappahannock, which made it a very crucial port for the growth of the country. And so you had a lot of merchant and military activity throughout this area, and really kind of culmination point for a lot of different groups of people that were making up the country at that period of time. So it has a lot of that really early history that, of course, we get a lot in Virginia, a lot of that Civil War history, and certainly Fredericksburg is certainly that way too, but we have a lot of that Revolutionary War history. A lot of our generals that fought here in Virginia are from this area. A lot of the units that fought in these battles were from this area. So it's an interesting conversation to be had. And obviously the different peoples. I mean, you have indigenous peoples, you have African American peoples that are congregated around this area, all making up kind of the future of what we're going to see in this country, kind of that beginning of that storyline.
Well, let's switch gears now and talk about the Fredericksburg Area Museum, better known as the FAM to us locals who are in the area. Talk to me about the purpose of this museum and cultural center. You're right in downtown Fredericksburg, right across from a great coffee shop there that we go to all the time. But what is and I said this before we came on, and unfortunately I've never been, and that's on me, and I will have to make a visit to come and see the museum. But for the rest of us who have never been, or for those who have, tell us about this museum and its importance in the region.
Yeah, it's I absolutely love this museum. This has been a museum that I've wanted to work with for a long period of time. What I love about it is it's so centrally located, and it's really the only museum that takes on the entire nature, the entire network of stories that make up our history of our region. And you obviously get a lot of the really great stories of really interesting historic sites and battlefields around Fredericksburg, but we kind of tie in that history all together from the past to where we are today. And so what I love about it is you get that true richness of stories that make up, who we are as a people. And so it was a destination that I wanted to be at. One of the things that we did when I first got here is we're now open for free. So that's a big change for us, that we wanted to make sure that we weren't keeping out people for any financial barriers to the history that they are, as the citizens are around here, that they can come and see their history. And so that was a big change for us. So we are open and free now. We're right here in the heart downtown of Fredericksburg. So it's part of people's experiences now. So they come in, go to the coffee shop, they can stop at the museum. If they're waiting for foodie across the street or some of the other local restaurants, if there's a wait list, they come here and just spend 20 minutes of time, wait for that text message to come. And then a lot of times you see them come back after dinner, and so it's that, or after lunch. So you see that kind of ongoing transaction where people are kind of coming in and stopping and experiencing culture and history here in the heart of Fredericksburg. And that's what I love about it. And it's always changing. You're right. Like we have new
Yeah,
exhibits. Yeah.
that was my next question. So give me, like, if I were to walk in today, what are the top 3 things that I should pay attention to when I walk in?
Yeah, so we're doing we're going through exhibit changes right now. We have a great what's called These Old Walls, which is kind of a play on if the buildings could talk, what would they say about the region? You can see that until into March. So please come on down and see that now, because that exhibit will be coming down, and what will be going in its place, which will be launched in May, is a large exhibit on the African American history of the region. It's called Living Legacies. We're so excited about that. This has been Dr. Gayla Sims, who's name in the area, has been working with the African American community and bringing these stories to life. And we're really excited to see that go up. And it's been about 5 years, 3 or 4 or 5 years worth of work to be able to pull this thing together. So that's a big one. We have the auction block, which I think many people in this region know the story about that, but we made national news about the former slave auction block that was on the corner here of Charles and William Street downtown. That was very divisive and politically fraught, and certainly kind of the genesis point of a lot of protests downtown. And that exhibit, it has been moved to the museum here, and that exhibit is here on display. We have an LGBTQ plus exhibit, so we're not afraid. We wanted to have these conversations about everybody here in town, which obviously got some national news as well, that we are wanting to make sure that everybody's stories are available here as well. So we have a lot of things that we'd love to see. We have 1, 2, 3 year rotating exhibits. There's always something new, Uriah, for people that are coming here.
Talk to me about the region. I mean, and so you said tell the stories of the region. Obviously, this is a growing region, and just 2 weeks ago, we saw numbers that came out of the UVA Weldon Cooper Center that's saying that this region, Fredericksburg, Caroline, Spotsylvania, King George, fastest growing region in all of Virginia. So as things change, what is your role in documenting this change and making sure that people hold on to that history and know where to go get it?
Yeah, I think we have to be active in collecting all the time. And that was something that we brought in and are really actively doing. Change is going to happen. And I think as long as we're paying attention to what that change is and what it means for the region, I think that's a great thing, and actively collecting that stories. The objects that we collect are just objects, but it's the stories that surround those objects is what really is meaningful and impact, because it's about people. And so that's what we're doing. So I think becoming more aware that we're out here collecting those stories and objects from the past is really important for people. You can come in and donate your objects, and any point in time, tell us your stories. We'd love to be able to collect those as well. As we grow, it's obviously things are going to change, and that's just going to happen. But I think that we're prepared to kind of watch that, and hopefully history, is a way to kind of look forward, right? Past is prologue. So it's a way to kind of look at where we're going and what we're doing and how we're changing, and hopefully that we can do it in a little bit more educated way moving forward.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to ask you about if you could tell us one thing about Fredericksburg that would surprise us. And I'll give you an example. One thing that I was really surprised by, and this was years ago, I picked up the Freelance Star, and I read a story about how there are underground tunnels in the city of Fredericksburg. And they're not vast. It's not a whole subway network, but there are underground places to store stuff, and they were used years ago. And so obviously I'm not doing the story justice there by my account at all. Maybe you want to talk about that, but maybe there's one thing about Fredericksburg that would surprise us that we didn't know about, and then might be able to learn more about by visiting the museum.
Yeah, I can. There's so many things that are coming to my head, and I definitely didn't prepare for this question, but I think one of the interesting things is the river itself and how rich of history that it still is, and it's still producing things. We just received a bateau, I think I can say this now, a full-size bateau that was pulled out of the Rappahannock River just recently. That's from the 19th century. So there's still finds out there, right, of things that are showcasing the history of the river and the city that are just being uncovered with the changing river and the changing tides and the changing landscape. It's pretty fascinating. And it shows, hundreds of years, thousands of years of history right here. So,
Okay. I cover a lot of city council, and that word is not used in my city council meetings that often. So you're going to have to school me on what that is.
The bateau?
Yes.
Okay, it is a river boat. It's a boat that they use kind of to ferry people and goods across the river. And so this was found just it has a flat bottom to it, so it allows for very shallow draft. So very shallow rivers you're able to use that on. So it was literally just found on the side of the river and almost a complete bateau. So it's fascinating that we were able to find these types of things to be brought to us.
This is a whole nother topic for a whole nother interview, but now you've really got me really interested in this. It's important to note that the Rappahannock is not very deep. And so I guess that would mean that's why this boat would come in handy. But we haven't mentioned this, but right across the river from Fredericksburg in Stafford County is Ferry Farm, and that is where George Washington's boyhood home was. And so I imagine there was a lot of ferrying going on between Ferry Farm and Fredericksburg City.
Yes, you got Falmouth, you got the entire port over there. So things were moving across the river back and forth. You had plantations that were up and down the river that were economic, powerhouses. And so there was a lot of movement of people and traffic and goods that were done. And so there's a lot of history that's just been left there. And the cultural resources that are still out there are pretty immense.
Sam McKelvey is the director of the Fredericksburg Area Museum. Before we go, tell everyone how they can find you and visit you.
Yeah, please do. You can find us at www.famva.org. We are open most all year. The only days we're not open is on Wednesdays, so come down and see us between 10 and 5 every single day. We're free and open to the public. We take donations, of course, and you can donate and support us online as well, because that's how we're supported. And so please do so as well. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram and all your social media sites as well.
And if you're in the Rappahannock for any reason and you do run across another 100-year-old boat, please give Sam a call immediately. I'm sure he'll be right out there to pick that up. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, Sam.
Thank you.